everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the SDR podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, Devesh Tilokani, Enterprise BDR at Loopio since May 2022. His performance is from 75% to 163%, averaging 110% in the past year. He's going after companies between 500 and 5,000 employees, and specifically software companies. And the buyer personas he's going after are VP of sales, proposal directors, and CISOs. So obviously it depends on the use case, and we will talk a bit about that during the episode. Also, you can follow him on LinkedIn and YouTube. I'm going to add the links in the description, but if you want to search for his name, it's Devesh Tilokani, so DEVESHTILOKNI. And today we will dive into strategies and insights into what make him a top SDR. Devesh, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ulrich. Appreciate you having me here, and excited to dive into it.
Sure. So let's start with how you manage your time. So what does your daily routine look like, especially non-negotiable tasks you have, and how have they contributed to your success as an SDR?
For me personally, I have at Loopio, we do it where we do it equally with our cold calling, our cold email, and our LinkedIn messaging. So I have a certain number of emails I need to send, calls I need to send, and LinkedIn messages I need to send. And those are kind of like my non-negotiables that every single day, no matter what, I get them done. When it comes to, and that number it's taken me, I'd say, a couple of months to figure that out. But once I did, it's been like the reason why I've been able to be successful in this job. What I found with time management per se, and Alex Hormozi, if anyone's heard about him, he's all over the internet. He speaks a lot about this, but the idea is that in our 9-to-5s, we're always thrown with a bunch of different things, whether that's internal meetings, whether that's as you get more and more tenured, you'll have other BDRs and SDRs that are in the organization that are newer, reaching out with more questions, and you of course want to help them, or your manager needs something, or there's always something going on with your 9-to-5. That's what I found. So I think it's important to figure out those 1 to 2 hours, either before your work hours or after, that you can use that are like your golden hours when no one's going to disturb you. So for example, for me, I'm a morning person, so I prefer to be up at like 6 a.m. And by 6:37, by 7, I'd say, let's go on the later side. By 7, normally I'm on my desk, and then from 7 to 9 are like my 2 golden hours to prospect normally. And by the time it's 9 a.m., I'm already done with most of my emails for the day, and then I can kind of tackle some of the other stuff. So for example, of course, the idea is not that you work from 7 to like 6 and work your ass off basically, but the idea is that you kind of figure out a schedule that works for you. I have a friend, for example, and she is a night owl, so she'll log on a bit later, but then normally like 7 to 9 after she's like probably had like an early dinner, she'll like log on and then she'll get her work done. So I think it's important to figure out those 1 to 2 hours for yourself outside the 9-to-5. If time permits, if you have responsibilities and life and family stuff that goes on, that's different. But if you can and you have that ability, I just found when you have quiet time, it makes life a lot easier. And that's been a bit of a hack that I've used in the last 3 months, and it's like changed the game for me when it comes to time management.
Oh, nice. And can you walk us through your golden hours? So you said you're blocking for those 2 hours every day, so it's before everyone is starting actually. So what do you do during those 2 hours? Do you have like a specific schedule every day, or what's your schedule here?
Yeah, so it's really specific. So for example, for us, I'm in the at Loopio, I'm in the enterprise. We have the enterprise team that's divided in two. Enterprise 1 and Enterprise 2. So I'm on the Enterprise 1 team where we reach out to companies between 500 to 5,000 employees. And when I was working backwards, I found out that if I was able to reach out to 4 net new accounts a day, so 4 net new accounts a day, 20 net new accounts a week, then that would give me the best chance of having the numbers to hit my quota. So from that 7 to 9 normally, in our sequence, our first step is normally a customized, like a personalized email. So normally in those 2 hours, I'm basically researching my accounts, drafting up those first touch emails, for those 4 new accounts that I'm reaching out to. Normally, we target between 5 to 7 prospects per account. Loopio is again a bit of a unique case where um, we help teams respond to RFPs, and at times it's kind of hard figuring out who actually responds to them, especially in these large organizations. So we tend to reach out to about 5 to 7 people normally, because sometimes you are, whether you like it or not, kind of shooting in the dark. Yeah, so four net new accounts, 5 to 7 prospects each account. That's normally my 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then yeah, that's kind of where and those are the golden tasks that really drive revenue per se.
So yeah, and actually for enterprise, it's the bigger the companies, and the harder it's to find the right person also, because even though you have like people with the same title, you don't know who owns this tool or this process specifically. So that's why you need to do that. So for those who are listening, so you said you had 4 new accounts per day, so 5 to 7 prospects per account. So it's like 20 to 28 new prospects to your pipeline every day. And so you said your first touch is an email. So you're writing in those 2 hours from 20 to 28 emails per day?
Yeah, exactly. You basically nailed it. So I'm adding 20 to 28 new personalized first touch emails. Personalization could be company personalization or individual, depends on the persona. Sometimes if they're really high up and they have a lot to play with in their LinkedIn, I'll make it extremely individual. But yeah, that of course depends on the persona and the individual that I'm reaching out to as well.
Okay, and so that's your minimum that you are hitting every day. So every day, no matter what, you are adding those prospects.
Yeah, it's like a non-negotiable. It's just like, I don't know what it is. I'm just the type of person. I don't know. It's like my friends and family tell me that I'm stubborn, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. The bad part is that, yeah, sometimes like for me to change in certain things can be a bit like if I'm stuck in certain parts of my life, I'm really stuck in my ways. For example, like in food, like there's certain foods I just won't eat. But the good part about being stubborn is that if I want to get it done, I will get it done no matter what. Like it's non-negotiable basically, you know.
Yeah. And to go back on what you mentioned at the beginning, before talking about the golden hours, you were talking about having a minimum of KPIs. So we talk about the number of new accounts that you're adding every day, number of prospects, and then now the first touch as an email. Do you have other KPIs that you hit every day? So can you walk us through this?
Yeah, normally another one is like our calls. Normally I do about 30 calls a day at least. So that's another KPI that I'm always looking to hit. And when it comes to LinkedIn, so on LinkedIn, I have a sequence set up where it's a video sequence, like a vidyard sequence. So normally when someone accepts my connection request on LinkedIn, I'll put them in a separate sequence where I'll send them a vidyard as an intro. And then from there, it's like a 6-step process where the first step is basically the vidyard, and the next 5 steps are like text messages, basically like text, word text, where I'm talking about like different pain points or trying to send some value across. And so normally 30 calls, and then I send about 5 videos, I'd say, a day on LinkedIn. And then on top of that 5 videos, I'll also have about 15 text messages that I'll send on average. So those are like the rough numbers that I've like set up for myself. Those are like the benchmarks. Whenever like we've had a lot of new BDRs join recently, and whenever they've asked me like what should I do for that, I'd say take what I'm doing, but like probably add at least 10 on top, because you don't have a pipeline built out as much as compared to someone that's been here. For example, we're judged on like a monthly basis. So in May, each month, I normally have at least 1 to 2 follow-ups for the month before that I've just followed up with that come in this month. But if you're newer, you don't really have that. So that's why I tell a lot of BDRs, at least in the first couple of months, you want to kind of aim for an even higher number than what I'm doing. But this works for me now because I've been in the role for about a year.
Yeah, and also something about this, it's unique because generally they don't have your conversion rate also, because you're already in the job. It's something they don't see. They see the number of activities you are hitting, but you have your conversion rate, which is really high normally, because you already have, your better personas, the accounts you are going after. And that's something generally you don't see, because you see the activities. You just see the activities and you focus on that. So I think that's really, you should, send more emails, or obviously focus more on the activity at the beginning instead of just the quality, because it takes time to do that. So you mentioned text messages, so I'm curious about that. And I'm asking this because I think you are the second one on the show talking about text messages. So at what stage do you send a text message to your prospects? Is it in your cadence or is it like before a meeting or?
Yeah, so I should have clarified there. By text message, I
Okay,
mean
yeah.
like LinkedIn messages that are text
Oh,
instead of video. That's what I
oh,
meant. Sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
you
the
okay, okay, okay.
sequence. Yeah, the sequence is about 6 steps. The first step is a vidyard, and the next 5 steps are messages on LinkedIn that are text, not video. It has about a 30% reply rate, so it's not been too bad overall. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no. Okay. Thanks for clarifying that because
No
yeah,
worries.
text messaging,
My
I
bad.
think it's another. I don't. I never tried text messaging to prospect, but yeah, text messages on LinkedIn. Yes. So something also you mentioned earlier, it was that it takes you time to figure out those numbers. So what was your thought process around this? It took you like a few months to learn about this, or what was your process?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think yeah, for the first couple of months, I honestly didn't do it as well, per se. I just like would reach out to as many as I could, but I didn't have like a set target every single day. And I remember I was kind of burning out, so I spoke to one of my previous manager about it, and like we had a calculator that we ran through, and basically in that calculator, it was the idea was like how many prospects would it take like to reach out to book a meeting, and we worked backwards from there. There's like a lot of basic calculators. I think JB Barrows is a great JB has a JB Sales they have a great calculator about this as well.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, she pulled up that one. But yeah, it was just like working backwards from like how many prospects you need to reach out to actually book a meeting. How many
Yeah.
meetings do you need to actually? So we're judged on sales accepted opportunities. So we have meetings that happen. Those go to the AE. The AE does the demo, and if the AE wants to qualify this opportunity and work it, that's when we actually get these sales accepted opportunities. So it's kind of working backwards. These are how many sales accepted opportunities I need. These are how many meetings meetings need to occur. These are how many meetings need to be set because your show rate's not going to be 100%. I mean, I'd like it to be 100%, but fortunately it isn't. And then how many prospects you need to reach out to actually hit that number. So it was a bit of trial and error as well, as I think in the first couple of months, you're also figuring out what your reply rate is, what your your open rate is and all that. And like the more you tweak that, the more that gets better, like the less prospects you also need to reach out to. So of course, my reply rate has gotten better since I've been in the role, like especially after the first couple of months. So as a result, I don't have to reach out to as many prospects as maybe
Yep.
some of the other BDRs have to reach out to.
And so you started to talk about this because you talk that you are using a lot of different channels. So how do you structure a sequence? You already started to talk about that, but your first touch is an email. Why an email as a first touch?
What I've found is, at least, yeah, a lot of times, what we do is at least is like we have the email that goes out on the first day, and then either on the first day or the second day itself, the sequence prompts you to call them, and then so within the first 48 hours, normally we're sending 3 touches. We're sending an email, a call, and a LinkedIn. What I have found is that when people open up the email, like my open rate's a bit on the higher side. I'd say we can go up to 80% on a good month. When they're able to see the email and you're calling them, I just find it's a lot more warmer. I'd say about half the calls that we do, and if your emails are very customized, I'd say it's about 40 to 50% of calls that I do. The person already kind of has an idea of who I am because my email has been pretty memorable in some way, or my LinkedIn message has been pretty memorable as some way. Because what I'm kind of, I guess, looking in my head, like sort of how I like to look at it is that I want the prospect's head for Devesh from Loopio to really stand out compared to the other BDRs that are reaching out to them in their inbox. So that's kind of how I look at it. And yeah, I mean, that was there before I joined the Loopio, and it has worked for the team up till now. And yeah, just like making sure we reach out to the prospect on all 3 channels within the first 48 hours. I think that's key.
Yep. How many touches do you have on a sequence?
If I'm not mistaken, it's about 15 touches. 15 touches. We have some sequences that are a bit lower. I think it's about 12. But yeah, around between 12 to 15 touches. I think there's about 3 calls, 5 to 6 emails, and then another 2, I think, LinkedIn tasks, 2 or 3 LinkedIn tasks. So yeah, that's kind of how the sequence is structured per se.
And now let's talk about your LinkedIn sequence that you mentioned earlier. And I know that's something that helped you a lot getting success actually and booking meetings. So you mentioned that every time you have a prospect that accepts your connection request on LinkedIn, you have a separate sequence to add them to it. So before we talk about this sequence, actually, do you personalize your connection request or do you have a blank connection request?
Blank. I've done blank for the last 6 months, and it's worked out way better for me, honestly. Yeah.
Nice. No, it's because I know some people they have different opinions, so it's yeah. Okay, so and I think when we're preparing this episode, actually, after preparing the episode, I started to do that, having the sequence. I'm not using the video yet because for now it's just having like a separate cadence to keep track of my prospect to accept my connection request on LinkedIn because it's not a mess, but I think it's easier to keep track of my prospect on this. So I think it's a really good way to keep track of your prospect. So definitely, if you're listening to this or watching this, have a different sequence. But now we are going to talk about specifically what you are sending in this sequence. So you said first touch is a video. So you said you use video. What do you say in this video and how you structure it?
Yeah. I'll just maybe say a quick point there. I completely agree with you with kind of staying focused on and like being organized with it. What I used to do in the past is I would just send the video and then I would just assume that I would have a reminder in a couple of days to like send a follow up. Never happens. Never happens. So I'm like, why would I be like why would I make my life harder? Let me just create a sequence that reminds me every couple of days to like follow up with this person or send a soft touch. So once the sequences come in, like my reply rate's gone skyrocketed compared to before. Because a lot of times what happens is, and I'll go into my structure real quick, but a lot of times what happens is people will watch the video, but they just won't respond. And you're like, you spend 75 seconds of your life to watch the video, but you didn't respond. But a lot of times what happens is you watch it, you'll be like, wow, this is impressive. And then you'll just forget to respond. And then like when you follow up with them, they're like, oh yeah, sorry Devesh, the video was great, let's chat. I just forgot to reply back, but it sounds really interesting. And I just think to myself, I'm like, if I hadn't had that sequence or if I hadn't followed up with this person, like I would have lost them, basically. So that's one thing to know for, which is why it can be really crucial to create that sequence to remind yourself. But how the structure of the video goes is normally I start off with, hey prospect, and then I'll start off with like an acknowledgement that not sure how often you receive videos like these. And I think Catherine Caldwell, if I'm not mistaken, she's like a video prospecting coach. She talks a lot about this. I've gone for a session of hers. She's great. Definitely check her out on LinkedIn. But I hope I'm getting her name right. But basically, she had mentioned like you start off your video with like acknowledging that it's a bit weird, not weird, but like it's different to get a video compared to just getting a random message. So what I'll start out the video with is be like, hey Jack, not sure how often you get videos like these. And then what I'll do is I normally have my email open that I've already sent because I'm trying to reduce the time, like the brain power that I'm using. I'll have the email that I already have written and I'll use the same personalization over here. So I'll say something like, hey Jack, not sure how often you receive videos like these. Actually, Jack, I was on your Q2 earnings press release, and I noticed that revenue rose by 27%, and your CEO mentioned that you're investing in this and this in your sales process. And then from there, I'll go into like my I'll connect that with specific personalization with what Loopio does. So we help teams respond to RFPs. Typically when companies grow, they respond to more RFPs. So I'll say something like that. Typically when the companies are in this stage, they respond to more RFPs. Out of curiosity, what's your strategy around that? Just giving you a rough template right now, but of course I'll go into more pain points sometimes. And then what I'll do is I normally have 2 tabs open. So I have 3 tabs open normally. So one is the prospects page. So I'm normally sharing the prospects page. It's a small bubble on the side on Vidyard. Then once I've given the pain point, I'll go onto like our page, our Loopio page, and you can go onto whatever your company's website is. And I'll show a couple of stats and sort of talk about a pain point that we solve. Super quick, like literally 10 seconds. Like I'm giving them a very rough overview of what we do because I don't want to lose them. And the last thing what I'll do is, and this part is golden, is that the third tab is my Gmail open, and I'll literally click and I'll show them the email that I've sent. And that's when it clicks in their head that this guy was the one that sent me the personalized email. He sent me a personalized video like this person deserves a response because I've gotten a video, I've gotten a voicemail from them, and I've also gotten a personalized email. So tying everything together, like that's been like a game changer for me. And the email part, I only added that in. And like normally what I'll say at the end is also sent you across an email. Click on the Gmail tab, subject line, as you can see here is whatever. Let me know your feedback and if you're open to chatting about this next week. And then I leave it over there, and that's increased my reply rate a lot more as well, from adding that third element to it as well.
Okay, so how long are your videos generally?
Between 50 to 75 seconds, I'd say. It sounds like I'm doing it a lot longer because I'm explaining it, but it's actually between 50 to 75 seconds max. And you're sending 5 videos a day, like that shouldn't take you more than 10 to 15 minutes. Once you get the repetitive, sort of like the flow behind it.
Now, which is really good because you mentioned that it takes longer to explain because obviously you need to explain your thought process to explain the idea behind the video and the structure of it. So, but yeah, I think it makes sense for this because when you're prospecting, longer than that could be really long and prospect won't watch it. So, in fact, won't watch every part of the video. So it looks like that you are sharing a screen also during this video, or is it just you talking in front of a camera, or what's your process?
Yes, I'm sharing the screen. So I'm sharing 3 different screens. I start off with their LinkedIn page. I talk about my personalization. Then I go to our company page. I'll pull up a couple of stats, and then the final page that I go to is my own Gmail, and I'll pull up the actual email that I sent them, and I'll show them that email as well. So it's like 3 different pages that I'm sharing, and the video has like a small bubble at the side, so they can still see your face and see you communicating as well.
And actually, when you send this video after recording this video on LinkedIn, on VDR, and then you send it on LinkedIn, do you add some text to your video in the chat of LinkedIn, or what do you say?
Yeah, so I keep it pretty simple. I'll say Eric dash not sure often you receive videos like these, but recorded, want to introduce myself, link the video. The actual subject line of the video, this one also I've A/B tested, and this one works really well. But I'll write the exact seconds that the video is. So let's say if the video is like 57 seconds, the caption of the video will be 57-second video for Elric. And when you see something like that, I'm just like always thinking about like what's like when someone looks at 57-second video for their name, it just stands out in their inbox a lot more compared to I don't know, video for Elric per se. So it's like, how do you stand out? And that's just one way that I found pretty helpful.
Yeah, it's more specific, and they know what to expect also with the video, because generally it's if you don't know how long the video, maybe you don't know if you're going to click on it. So in 57 seconds, it's really specific. So
yeah, and that's a great point. I mean, I've been sending videos for the last 7 months, and it's all been iterations. I started off with just sending Elric, here's a video for you, and then the caption was video for Elric or whatever. And then I found out people weren't clicking as much, or they were dropping off maybe in the first 10 seconds of the video. Then it's like, okay, maybe if I let them know that it's a very short video, they may actually click on it. So just like, as you get better and better, you kind of like plug more and more gaps per se in your approach.
For people who want to improve their video prospecting skills, what do you think is the biggest key learning for you? Because you said that you started 7 months ago, and what did you learn in this process?
Yeah, I think the first thing is just getting I'll go back. I'll say the first thing is committing to a certain amount of videos that you want to send on a weekly basis or a daily basis. The biggest thing that I've noticed is because I've run a couple of training sessions for VDRs internally. I think the biggest objection that I've gotten is this will just add too much more work to my work, to like my already crazy workflow that I have. Because like they just think it's too much work to do send videos. So I think it's just important to start small but commit to a certain amount. I think another BDR that's had some success recently that I spoke to, he just basically like committed to 3 videos a day, 15 a week. Those 3 videos take him about 10 minutes. That's all he does. But at least he started off, and he's getting some decent results from it. So I think the main objection that I always get is like, it just takes too much time or whatever. But if you can at least commit to a certain amount, a small amount to start off with, and then have a process that's scalable. So for example, like for myself, I will literally read off the email at times for the video, most times actually, because I don't want to go out of my way to search for another personalization as well. Like when I already have that, like the email's done the work for me.
Yeah.
You know? So it's always like figure out like what's a number that you can stick to, and secondly, figure out how can you make it as easy as possible for yourself. Yeah, but that's what I'd say as advice.
And I think you make a great point here around because you already done the research. You're not going to research again to find something that you're going to say in the video, because most of the time also they don't remember the email, or you are using something that's you already done the research at the beginning. So it's not like thinking about what you're going to say; it's already here.
100%. Even you can use that same personalization like in your cold call as well. Because the idea is that we're always trying to create a point of view, like what's going on internally in that account, and why your product actually would help that company move from A to B or whatever. So that's kind of how I look at it.
So that's your step number one on the sequence. So the video you're saying on LinkedIn, and you said also at the beginning you are having 5 other steps on it. So what do you say in your following on your follow-up messages?
Yeah. So step number 2 is normally a bit of a bump. It's any feedback on the video, question mark. Any feedback in the video, Elric, question mark. Then another one that I put in there. So one thing that we do use is that in all our emails we have a robot photo that we have, and I'll explain that in a bit more detail. Basically, it's like at the end of the PS in our emails, normally we write PS, I'm not a robot. And it's like a whiteboard that we hold up, and it's like a robot that's drawn, and it's like, hi, Elric, I'm not a robot, Devesh from Loopio. So again, I've already created that robot photo and I've already added it in my email. So I'll resend it on LinkedIn, and I'll be like, any feedback in the video, Elric? PS, I promise I'm an actual human and not a robot. And like people will like chuckle, they'll laugh about it. They'll be like, well, you sent me a video and you sent me this, like you're definitely a bot at this point, you know? So yeah, it just like breaks the ice even more. And the second step, so I'd say, gets an even higher response rate than the first step, because people will watch the video and then they'll see that second step come in, and they'll click. My third and fourth steps are normally I talk about a pain point.
Before talking about the third and fourth step, when do you send the second for the bump message? Is it like a day after, 2 days after, or?
It's normally 2 days after. 2 days after.
2 days after.
And then
okay.
Every step from there is about 3 days after. The 6 steps fall in about 20 days in total.
Okay. And so I go back on let's go back on step 3 and step 4.
Step 3 and step 4 are like pain points that Loopio solves for, that I'll talk about a bit. Again, like one-liners, like typically when I speak with this, they say this is a challenge. Have you seen something like this? I'm not trying to pitch Loopio. I'll just say that. My step 5 is, again, I'll speak about a pain point, but I'll be like happy to send a 1-minute explainer video if you think it might be useful. A lot of times people will, because we have a great marketing team internally, and they have some like very small 1-minute videos that are like, they're kind of like walkthrough videos that kind of speak about the pain point and also show how Loopio helps with it. So we've had good success with sending that across, because I find if you send a bunch of case studies and you send like stuff, people never really read it. But 1 minute, people can take out 1 minute from their time, from their day. So that's normally my step 5, where I'm like saying happy to send you a 1-minute explainer video if anything I've mentioned sounds interesting. And normally that one has a good reply rate, because people are like, yeah, sure, send it across. And then I'll send it across, and then maybe in a couple of days they'll put a reminder to like get their feedback on the video. And I've had a couple of times that people are like, this sounds great, let's jump on a quick chat to see what you guys are about or whatever. The final step though is normally I'll just be like, hey, like I'll give them like 2 options. I'll be like, hey, like either my outreach was actually terrible, or you're just working on a mountain of RFPs, because we help teams respond to RFPs. So I'll say you're working on a mountain of RFPs. Either way, I'll try to catch you maybe later. Yours the 1-minute explainer video I was talking about. So I'll actually send it across, because I've had people reply back to that step 6 as well. Once I've sent the explainer video, but go and listen to it. They go and read, like watch it, and they're just like, wait, this is actually interesting. Let's chat. Or of course, no. But yeah, I've had most of my replies either come in that step 1 or step 2 or step 5 or 6. So yeah, that's kind of like the 6-step sequence that were broken down.
I really like the way you are structuring it, because actually it's the second message, actually, if it's the bump email, if the bump message is the bump message that generally we're using to making sure they see video, and then you're trying to bring value because it's focused on the pain and not Loopio. Obviously, it's related to what you can solve, but I think it's really smart to do that. And you said it's really short because you're on LinkedIn and you can sell like something really big. And also the 1 minute video, I think it's really good to think about that because today and actually, on this podcast, that's also something we are talking about the buying experience. But here, I think for the buying experience, it's pretty good because prospects they don't want to talk to salespeople generally when they are in buying mode, or they want to do the research on their own. And so here you are giving them the information instead of talking to you to get the information, so they can watch the video on their term, and then if they're interested, obviously they're going to talk to you and then set a demo. But I think it's thinking about the buying experience. It's pretty smart.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, on the buying experience part, I'll mention something really quick. Um, like for example, like of course I can't mention names, but like I've had times that prospects mentioned to me, this is actually for a video that I sent, and they ended up being a closed one. Like they closed the AE closed the deal, but the person had mentioned that our competitor had been bombarding them with a bunch of generic emails, but the fact that I sent a customized video and I spoke about what was going on in their company internally, which was actually true.
Yep.
That's what was going on. They had like a new CRO, and the CRO had mentioned a couple of things in their press release. Like this person was really impressed, and they took the meeting, and then like a couple of months later the deal closed. So that's an example of like creating that buying experience can really make you stand out from your competitors, especially because we're the SaaS space is like so many different competitors that in each like sub vertical per se.
No, what you said also earlier about you're competing against SDRs, against a lot of companies trying to get their attention, and so that's you need to stand out to do that. And here, actually, what you mentioned, every step that you have in your process right now, it's thinking about this. Actually, is how you can stand out. So thanks for sharing this sequence. Now let's talk also about, we didn't talk about this here, but during the preparation of the episode, you mentioned that you have pretty good success with contacting with past customers, meaning that people who are using Loopio at their previous role and now they move to a new company and they don't use Loopio. So how do you keep track of those prospects who are changing jobs?
There's two ways to do this. One is you can reach out to actual champions that move jobs. And one is when you're reaching out to an account, you can try to figure out whether any of your prospects have basically come in from a company that was a customer. Maybe they didn't actually work directly with your product, but they still came from a company that was a customer. For the first one, for the champions one, we had a BDR internally that created honestly, I'm not a wizard at this, but like full transparency, like we had a BDR that created a Salesforce report that pulled all our champions that move jobs. So basically you could just go through that, see if it's in your segment, reach out to them, be like, congrats on the new role. Given the success you had with your time using Loopio at XYZ, would it make sense to potentially revisit an RFP response tool like Loopio? And then I'll also add a bit of personalization. Also notice that the company's revenue grew by XYZ. So I thought potentially, and since you've been bought on as well to like manage the RFP response process, I'm guessing you're looking to see how things can be more efficient. Something like that, just as a rough example. So yeah, that's had a really good reply rate and some really good success because they already know about us. They'll give us a yes or a no right away. That's one. The second that I've also used is, and there's probably, LinkedIn gurus that can give you better ways to use Sales Nav and find out, how, who's moved from one company to another and like how you can use that. But for us, we're like assigned accounts. So normally what I'll do is when I'm reaching out to an account, I will basically, let's say 7 prospects that I choose, I'll go through them. And because Loopio, we're been around for a while, we have 1,500 plus customers. A lot of them are in the enterprise space. We normally have people that like in the software space, people move a lot. So we normally have a lot of people that like, let's say they worked at DocuSign, which is one of our customers. They moved to like another company. So what I'll say is something like, Elric, saw you worked at DocuSign in the past around 2019, 2020. They're actually a customer of ours using Loopio to do XYZ. Out of curiosity, would you be open to exploring how we could help you do the same at wherever you're working right now.
Yeah.
Then again, a little bit more personalization. Also noticed that your company has grown by this, or this happened about your company internally. So yeah, basically that's what I'll do. And I'll add the robot photo at the bottom. So that way it's like I'm hitting them with like, I know you worked at a past company. This is what we've done for them. You open for doing the same for your current company. Also noticed company personalization, and then also the robot photo. So it's like you're hitting them with a couple of different ways to go about that. And what I have found in that is a lot of times, I'd say 70% of the time, maybe they may not be the right person, but they're so impressed with that email, they'll at least refer you to the right person, or they give you some information. And I think as a BDR, you're always looking to like fit the puzzle together, because sometimes you reach out to someone, they may not be the right person, but they refer you to the right person. So you're kind of like one step closer. Referrals are great. I mean, I've had a lot of success with referrals as well. So that email template has, the subject line of that email template also will be like, I'll add their previous company's name, and then I'll put like I don't know how to describe what this is, but it's like the two things that point towards each other, like the two arrows that point away from each other, and then I'll put like the current company's name. So automatically when you look at the subject line, they're like DocuSign, and let's say they're working at SAP, they're like DocuSign and SAP, like what's going on here, and they normally click on it. So that's a rough outline of what I do. Yeah.
Obviously, the first thing mentioning that they were working at a company or using Loopio, it's definitely a great way to stand out. But I think here what you do also differently is to use something relevant to their new business, not just, hey, I saw you are working at DocuSign and you are using Loopio. Let's talk about Loopio. No, it's you talk about this, but then also you say, also I found this about your new company, and I think that's relevant to talk about Loopio because of this. And I think, like you mentioned, it's helping you to stand out. And I'm not surprised about having a good reply rate on this email, actually.
Yeah, it's like you're at that point, like I was reading this book. It's called Influence by Cialdini. Great book to read. But it's one, like his first rule is reciprocation. So the idea is that if you are gonna extend your hand first and give to someone, they're way more likely to respond and try to give back. So when, like, think about it in this way, like psychologically, like when a C-suite sees that someone has put that much amount of effort into an email, they're just more likely to respond, because they're like, okay, this person has put the effort. I'm going to feel pretty bad if I don't respond to this, you know? So it's that idea of reciprocation that, like, in the end, as humans, like, we have a tendency, like, when someone gives a lot, we want to give back whether we like it or not. That's just like a common human tendency that we have, as simple as that. So yeah.
And there is a quote that I saw once on Twitter from the CMO of Lyft, actually. He was saying something similar to what you just said here. It's if you are not taking 15 minutes of your time to show me that you've done your research, why I'm going to take time to give you a reply. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yep. So we are at the end, actually, of the episode. So I have 3 more questions for you. So what's your favorite tool as a BDR?
I'd say Gong. I'd say Gong for sure. I could be stuck in Gong for hours and hours listening to old calls. Such a gold mine of information, whether that's cold calls, discovery calls with other, or like just demo calls with AEs. It's like a gold mine. Yeah, you can figure out so much about like the language that your prospects use. So yeah, if I had to choose someone, it's like I would rather watch Gong than watch Netflix, and that's maybe saying something about myself. But yeah, no, it's fun to, and also like you get a chance to like see like how, for example, sometimes you'll have like VPs or something that come into calls to like kind of help out with those enterprise deals, and just seeing how like a VP of sales or whatever that has like 20 years of experience, how they carry themselves in calls. That's a gold mine, man. You don't get that. You didn't get that 10 years ago. So, yeah, I put Gong up there.
When you say the word they're using, I think it's super important to do that actually for that. What do you do with that actually?
Yeah, so a lot of times I've like picked up specific phrases, because so when you go on Gong, if your company does have Gong, there's an option to like click on transcript. So while the person is talking, you can actually go to the transcript. So a lot of times, yeah, I'll pick up like specific phrases that they used, use that in my emails for like pain points that they spoke about as such, or also like when, like a lot of times, like what about Loopio got them interested, especially in cold calls as well. But yeah, the demo calls normally it's like pain points because like a lot of A's will go into like we'll give them like the general pain points that they have, but then they'll go into like even more depth. They're trying to drive to like the actual impact of what Loopio can solve. So yeah, I mean sometimes it's a gold mine to just like pick out those like small phrases and then use those in your email.
What's your favorite resource to grow as a BDR?
A big podcast fan, or like a big podcast fan of yours as well. But yeah, it's a definitely podcasts, like podcasts like these, like 30 Minutes to President's Club, stuff like that, because I can walk to the gym, listen to it, do my chores and listen to it as well. So I think that's probably my favorite resource, as you can kind of do two things at once. So, yeah.
And then last question, if you could give one piece of advice to a new enterprise SDR, what will be this advice?
In today's world of LinkedIn gurus saying they need to personalize and need to customize, I think it's extremely important to do that. Mm-hmm. But it's all well and good to customize and personalize and increase your quality of outreach. But quantity still needs to be there. I think at times we forget that it's a balance of the two. I know BDRs personally that write incredible emails, but they write 5 a day and they've never hit their quota just because they don't have the volume of what they do, because they spend maybe 25, 30 minutes in an email or whatever. So I think it's really important to customize and personalize. We all know that, but not at the cost of just completely tanking your quantity. So I think it's a balance of two. And that's something that I always recommend to all new BDRs that are coming in. And I've seen BDRs that have been successful in especially at Loopio. They're the one like starting off. They're the ones that started off out the gates with high activity, but also were like willing to tweak and get better in their emails and their cold call scripts and all that kind of stuff. Those have been like the top performing BDRs that I've seen, as such, compared to, let's say, a BDR that's great at personalization, but they don't just put in the volume that they need. So it's a good balance between the two. That's what I'd say.
Well, Devesh, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show today. Before we end the episode, do you want to share something else with the audience?
No, I mean, happy to answer any questions. If someone wants to see a vidyard example or, just want to chat about anything related to prospecting, business development, all that kind of good stuff, sales, reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm the most active. I'm happy to do it. And Rick, I mean, this is super helpful what you're doing for BDRs. I know, like, if I was starting out right now, like something like this could be extremely helpful. So you did the good work, my friend.
Yeah, of course. And thank you so much for being on the show today. And for everyone listening, I'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.